around the campfire to share stories, information, and travel tips that help you on your next adventure. Your camp hosts, Deborah and Barry Benton, are full-time RVers in search of quaint bookstores, cozy coffee shops with great Wi-Fi, and epic photography opportunities, all to share with you. So pull up your chair and join us in the virtual campground. Hey, welcome to the virtual campground. Actually, there's no one here right now because as the stream was starting to kick off, it just fell apart. The whole system shut down. So I had to cancel that stream, which everyone had the link to, and start this new one. Anyway, what I was saying is Snapseed is an app that I use quite often just to put a polish on my camera phone photos. So I've been meaning to put together a tutorial on it. Just a quick overview, and I've done that for you tonight. I'm going to play that in a minute, and then I'll come back and answer any questions. Actually, it's only me and Deb right now, but if you have any questions, leave a comment below, and I'll be glad to answer them, see what I can do to help you. All right, so we're going to head to Snapseed now, and see you on the other side. Welcome to the virtual campground. We're going to give you an overview of Snapseed, a really cool app for doing quick edits to your camera phone photos. It's really simple, easy to use. I'm going to go through the features that I use the most in this episode 1, I guess we'll call it. And then later down the road, we'll do an episode 2 that dives into details on all the other features that I use every now and then, some of them. Some of them I never use at all, but I'll give you an overview of those in that next overview, in the next episode. But today we're going to give you just a quick overview of how I use Snapseed to do quick edits to my camera phone photos. So here we go. First thing I'm going to do is get into Snapseed. I'm going to open from device. Look at all, I'm going to go to albums. I have some samples here set up, so I'm going to go grab one of those samples. So when I look at an image, there are two things I'm looking at first and foremost: composition, and then I think about what I want to do to make it a more colorful or dramatic, or maybe I want to go black and white. I think about what do I want to do with the image. So in this one, when I look at it, I say, well, it's fairly monochromatic as it is. Probably color is going to be okay. Maybe I'll convert it to black and white and see how I like it. First thing that Snapseed gives you an option to do is, if you see at the bottom, there are some options for filters. Now, I rarely use those, but if you're doing just a quick something and you just want to pop in a quick filter and be done with it, then you can use those filters. One of the nice things about using the filters is that you can edit the filter. So it's going to put a base layer of enhancements to the image, but then you can go in and tweak those things. So if it makes it too contrasty, you can reduce the contrast. If it doesn't make it bright enough, you can brighten it up, etc. So kind of a neat thing to do to get you started. But I typically go straight over to tools, and I typically go into tune the image. Now, the camera phones these days are fantastic for capturing images, and they almost always nail the exposure. But sometimes I want to tweak that. So Snapseed will give you several options. It starts off with bright options you have for this initial edit. So I can adjust the brightness, the contrast, saturation, ambiance, highlights, shadows, warmth. Okay, so let's talk about each one of these. Brightness is just what it sounds like. It's going to make it a little brighter, less brighter. I rarely tweak that because, like I said, camera phone photos generally get the exposure pretty well. But if I want it to be a little brighter, sometimes I'll come in here after I apply a vignette and make it a little brighter. Just depends on how I feel about it. So in this one, I'm just going to make it a tiny bit brighter. And then I'm going to look at contrast. I rarely adjust contrast right off the bat. I may come back and adjust that later. Saturation, I'll sometimes saturate an image just to give it a little bit more there. Ambiance really adjust. It's going to add a little contrast. It's going to add some shadows and highlights. So it really changes the look. So you can see there, if you go way up there to ambiance, I'll apply a little bit of ambiance to it. Highlights, if there were some things in the scene that were super bright and you felt they were distracting, then this is a great tool to use to take those highlights down just a little bit. So if I wanted to minimize the highlights in the sky or make the sky a little brighter, so I like the little bit of drama, so I'm going to bring the highlights down a little bit. And then the shadows do the opposite. So all those shadows, like in the windows of the Prada building, so look at those windows, and you can bring those shadows up that are in there, so you can make those a little bit easier to see. So I'm going to bring up those shadows a good bit just for fun. Warmth, I rarely add warmth to the images, especially not at a first pass. Now I'll look at this and say, okay, well, am I happy with what it is and how I like it? I think I brought up the shadows a little bit too much. And now I'm going to go back, now that I see what the overall scene looks like, and I'm going to add a little bit more contrast. And there we go. All right, so that's where we're going to start with as far as this image goes. Now, let's take a look at, oops, I'm adjusting the contrast. Hold on. I need to get off of that. Stop. Okay, so now let's click OK there. Now, this button up at the top right gives you some options. You can undo some of the things that you've done. You can redo some of the edits. You can revert back to the original. You can view the edits you've made. So that gives you some cool options to, so essentially that makes it non-destructible. You can go back to the original image that you started with. All right, so what other tools do I use? Right off the bat, when I looked at this, I didn't like the cropping. That road at the base of the building is just pretty boring. So I'm going to bring up that crop a little bit. The nice thing about the crops is you have lots of different options. You can do a free crop. You can keep the original crop, which is the setting I have right now. It's going to keep the original dimensions of the photo as captured, but as you crop, it's going to reduce and it's going to change both axes based on how you're doing the crop. If I want to do more of a free crop, which I do a lot of the time, I don't want to adjust both axes at the same time. I just want to adjust one at a time. So that gives me an option to play around with it and get the crop exactly where I want. So I'm going to do something like that. I'm going to put Prada right there on that middle third, that lower third, right? Rather, there is no such thing as a middle third, I guess. So anyway, that lower third, following the rule of thirds, you can see our previous video to learn more about rule of thirds. If I remember, I'll post something in the comments about that or in the notes. All right, so then I've got it cropped a little bit. Now I want to play around with a little bit. Sometimes I'll go in, and there's this selective tool that allows you to be a little more selective. I'm going to click on the gray asphalt there. And I'm going to, now it gives you several options. As you are looking at that, you can adjust the brightness, saturation, contrast, structure. I forgot what structure is, but it's not all that important. So now, now I can go through and adjust the brightness of whatever you've got that dot on, whatever tonal values match that. So I'm just going to darken that up a little bit. Click that. Now I'm going to go in and be a little selective on the actual building. Maybe I'll brighten that up a little bit. Sometimes I go overboard on this, but that's all right. You play around with it. You see what you like, see what you don't like. You can back off the edits if you don't like what you do, but that's the main thing. When you're messing around with your photos, play around with it. Don't be afraid to try stuff, and if you don't like it, just know that you can trash it and start over, so you don't have to worry about screwing things up. It looks like this is a little bit cattywampus. So yeah, so when I went in to straighten, it recognized that it was a little unlevel. So now it has straightened it automatically, and I can make more adjustments if I want, but I like that. That's fine. So I'm going to hit the check mark there. That's good. What else would I do with this? I do think I need to go into the sky here. So now I've clicked on the sky with that selective tool, and I'm going to change the contrast on that sky, make a little more contrasty. And then let's see what happens with saturation. Do I like more saturation or do I not like more saturation? It makes it a little bluer. I could make it a little more monochrome. Let's just go crazy. Let's make it super saturated. That's too much. All right. So play around with it. See what you like. All right. So that's that. Now, one of the things that so I've gone through tuning the image. I've gone through selective to make edits on specific parts of the image. I've gone through the cropping a little bit, and then we did a little bit of a rotation on it. Now, the one thing I do on almost all my images is a vignette down here at the bottom left. So I'm going to click that. So that automatically applies a vignette to the outside of the image. So I'm going to make it dramatic. It defaults to -50. So I'm going to go so just so you can see the effect. If you want to go crazy, then you can make the vignette really deep if you want. I typically do a fairly subtle vignette. So I'll do something around there. This again, the point of a vignette is to darken the edges in order to bring the viewer's attention to the subject, what you wanted them to focus on, to make it easier for them to view what you were hoping to have them view. So this is outer brightness. I've just darkened it a little bit. Now you can, by just scrolling up to inner brightness, you can adjust the inside of that. So I can make the inside section of that vignette a little brighter. I'm going to make it just a tiny bit brighter. Go back to outer brightness. Maybe I'm going to darken that up just a little bit just for fun. All right, so something like that. Love it, hate it, I don't care. It's my image. You do what you want to your images. That's the whole point of playing around with a tool like this. Final thing that I do as far as these tools go is I'll go down to frames, bottom right. Now, they have lots of different frames, but number 10 is just the one that I've decided I like, and so it defaults to number 10 every time. You'll want to go through here and look at all the frames, if you even want to frame it. I like putting a little frame on there, just adds a little polish to it, I think. So I always just default to 10. That way I'm not worried about looking for another frame to make it look different. This saves me like 3-4 seconds every image, and over the course of time, that could be billions of seconds. So think of all the time I'm saving. So I just default to number 10, and there's the final image. What to do from here? You have a couple of options. One is you want to export. I recommend saving a copy. This is going to save a copy on your phone in your normal place, folder, wherever you save your photos. And that way you have the original image that you captured as well as the this new one. And you can just save it, and that's going to write on top of the image. So then you've lost the original image. It's going to save this one with the edits. So if you're sure that you never want to go back and play with this again and don't care to do it again, then you can just save, and it's going to overwrite that image. Now you can share this directly from here. So if I wanted to go share this with social media or whatever, or I could airdrop it to somebody or send it in a message. What I generally do is I will export, I'll save a copy, and then if I want to text it to my wife or someone, then I'll share and I'll text. So there you have it. That is a super quick overview of Snapseed. Really handy little app, really cool. I'm going to go through one more image. Let's see what we should do. We're going to open, and I'm going to open from device, and we're going to go to my samples album. Let's see. Let's do just a traditional sort of image that you might shoot on a hike. This was in Big Bend National Park. Really beautiful scene already. Beautiful mountain hike and cool tree, almost like a bonsai. That's the kind of vibe I was getting from this tree. Was kind of a bonsai look, framed by this mountain. So I I want to do a couple things just to make it a little bit more my own, so to speak. So I'm going to go in here and I always go to tune image first. I'm not going to mess with brightness on this or contrast. I'm going to saturate it just a tiny bit. Not going to worry about ambience right now. I'm going to see what the highlights do. Now I like the brightness of those clouds, so I'm going to bring up highlights a tiny bit. Shadows, let's see. There are some pretty deep shadows. Now, sometimes on a real contrasty in the middle of the day shot like this, where you get really deep shadows because you're hiking in the middle of the day and you're taking these photos, sometimes it helps to bring up the shadows a little bit so there's less contrast. It's hard to do here, but as you can see where that shadow there at the bottom gets really dark, and then it lightens up a little bit so you can see a little bit more texture in that rock. So I'm going to do that just for fun. That also means that reduces the contrast. When you're bringing up the shadows, you're reducing the contrast in the image. So I may go back in a bit here and bring in some contrast. Now I want to look at warmth. I would like to add some warmth to the mountain, to all those rocks, but I don't want to necessarily add warmth to the sky. I'm going to see what adding warmth to the whole image does. See if I'm okay with it. If I hate it or not. Yeah, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to try some selective on this. All right, so I'm going to go back to contrast, maybe add a little bit of contrast, just give it some punchiness. And now I'm going to go back to ambiance and see if I like ambiance. That really gives it a punchiness to it that's kind of fun. I don't mind that. You can't overdo that, but just for grins, I'm going to do that, okay? All right, now let's go back to tools, and I'm going to go selective, and I'm going to see if I can, let's see, brightness. Can I bring down the brightness a tiny bit? And increase the saturation a little bit. It just gives a little bit of something to that hill back there, that mountain. Okay, so done a few edits there. Let's see, what else do I want to do? I'm going to go to tools. I don't think I want to do any more selective. I don't need to do any rotation or leveling. I'm going to go ahead and give it a vignette because I want the focus on that, to be on where the tree frames that mountain really nice. I want the viewer to be drawn to that. I'm a little distracted by that rock in the bottom right, those two rocks. So, I mean, this is, doing some majoring in minors, so to speak. You may not want to go to this detail, but I'm going to go on that, and I'm just going to darken that rock up just a little bit, and then go do selective again, click on that rock, darken that rock just a little bit. Now tools, go back to the vignette for a second here and see. All right, yeah, I don't want to add any more vignettes, so I'm going to cancel out of that. Okay, so I've got this now. What I want to do is I've got the vignette added. I'm going to go add my frame. Number 10, baby. See how much time that saved me? Not even looking at frames. It's incredible. Okay. All right. So that's my image. So now I'm going to hit the wrong thing. I'm going to export. I'm going to save a copy. Okay. Let's see what we've done here. This is the original image that I captured. And then this is the edit. The original, the edit. So pretty subtle differences, but there are some definite differences there. Love it, hate it, I don't care. It's my image. You do what you want with yours. That's the beauty of it. Okay, so let's take a look at, so there's the original Prada in Marfa, Texas. And then there's our edit. A little more dramatic. There it is. There it is. Okay. All right. Cool. Hey, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here. Really glad you're part of the community. Till we can see you in person sometime, we hope to see you in the virtual campground. Have an awesome day. All right. Hope that was helpful. Thanks for being here. Actually, we're not leaving yet because I have more for you. And Deborah was asking if I have any questions. No, I have no questions, but thanks for asking. Let's see. What else do we have? Oh, forgot. This show is sponsored by Camp Carpe Diem. This is the third annual Camp Carpe Diem, a community of travelers coming together, Kalispell and Flathead Valley, Montana. It's going to be very fun, September 28th through October 1st, 2023. The coolest adult camp ever. You have to be there, and it's going to be so much fun. This was last year. Asheville, Brevard, North Carolina area. Tons of fun. So hope you can make it. We'd love to have you there. And we've got tickets on sale now at campcarpediem.com. So thanks for being here. Sorry for all the technical difficulties. My light's even going out. I had to go get a beer just to chill out and relax. But I hope we'll be in better shape next week. Deborah's going to be back, and we will hopefully see you then. Until then, we'll see you in the virtual campground. Have a good night.